Hello and welcome to the Tucker-Crowley report. I am not Mike Crowley. Mike is away today, but I will sit in for him and do as best I can. And we're here with, as usual, Franklin Tucker from the Belmontonian. Welcome, Franklin.
Welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Let's start off with the Budget Summit 2. Basically most of the committees and boards and town staff is involved in the negotiations and discussions about the upcoming budget.
That's right.
What's your takeaway on that?
Well, right now it was a very important budget summit because it's really called the Fiscal Summit 2. It's for the budget of the fiscal 25 budget, the one that's coming up. And this one was a very important one because it gave us a true idea of where the money is coming from and how it's going to be used by the town. And it was also a way of starting the negotiations, I believe, between the select board, which will decide what the amount of a override will be, and that's what this budget is going to have will need.
I don't know. I just want to interject any opinions that I express on this show are just mine and not those of the Belmont Media Center. But you can't help but have some degree of admiration and respect for the folks who work for the town and all the people serving the committees for the tough job that they have to do right now. It's amazing the earnestness and the amount of work they're having to put in.
That's right. It's a very open and very transparent way of doing this. All the committees are being asked to contribute from the warrant committee, from the capital committees, and the school committee along. And so they're coming with the select board to decide, this very important budget because it will be an override year. Simply because we're not taking in as much revenue as we should be. So the difference between this fiscal summit from the first one, which was last month, is that we finally got free cash certified by the state, which is, pullbacks and things like that. It's money that we can move to the next year. And that has come to $11.8 million. Mm-hmm. And since that amount was presented, the town has gone to work where it's going to use the free cash. Right now, it appears that they want to put about $3 million into the operating budget and use about 7.3 of that 11.8 in this year's budget, with the $4.6 million balance being carried forward to stabilization funds and things like that. Some of the things that were talked about at the budget was, I think, an interesting one was, and this was people listen. This was the town and committees listening to the people, and that will be they're going to increase by 11.3% discretionary funds for sidewalks. So that's interesting. And we were talking about.
And is that, excuse me, Franklin, is that for repair of sidewalks? Is that what that's for?
That's right.
I assume.
Repair
okay.
and increase sidewalk. And right now, the town is looking just to increase very modestly with just 2 FTEs, which is a full-time equivalent of a worker. So the largest portion of the budget, of course, is for schools, and right now it appears that the schools have a very aspirational budget that they want to put forward. Most of that is going to be in administrative hires, and it looks like they're going to be hiring at least 10 more FTEs than they did last year. So where we're going to be approaching 550 people in the district. Now, like any good story, Patrice Garvin and Jennifer Hewitt, who is the town administrator and the budget director, waited for the last page of their report to spring a surprise to everybody, and that was how much the town is going to be in deficit, and over a 3-year period, which would cover an override, they're looking at about a $15.2 million deficit. And as Roy Epstein, who is the head of the select board, said, that's going to require a $12 million override to cover those 3 years. And when that information was brought out, there was a silence among the 20 odd people who were there, among the committees who were listening to it. And finally, the warrant committee had Jeff Lubian said this was the wow moment, because that is just a staggering amount of money that you have to raise over 3 years. Now, while several people on the school committee and residents defended the budget, especially the school budget, there was no surprise that the members of the select board, which is the body that decides the override amount, they're just not having it. Mark Polillo has said that $12 million is just a bridge too far, as he said. It just won't pass. No, a double-digit override request is simply impossible. And I think what you saw also is that after the meeting, you saw Mark Polillo talk to Superintendent Geiser in her first budget. This is her first budget she's developing. And I think that it's the beginning of a compromise. And you can just tell that Mark also said that while the schools will have to pare down what they have to look for, or as he calls it, prioritizing what will need to be funded. He also said that the $3 million that the town has given to the operational budget from free cash, he says that's just irresponsible. It just has to be a larger number. So you can already see that compromise starting to go. And I think you'll see by the middle of December, before the last meeting, which is on December 20th, of the budget of the financial summit, I think you'll see a compromise. I think you'll see, the schools realizing that it's just like Mark said, it's a bridge too far. It's just not going to pass, and they're going to have to compromise enough. And I think the select board will go against the real field of the warrant committee that wants less to do with one-time funds going to operational budgets, such as we're asking, since I think what Mark will be asking for. But I think that people are just going to have to agree to disagree in some ways and come up with an override that's 9.5 or maybe $9 million. And
but isn't and really the crux of all this is that the town government is trying to get a lot done, and there's a lot of expectation on the residents of what the town should deliver, but you're faced with where is that money going to come from, and it seems like they are really trying to figure this out in a responsible way and sort of set people up to say, if you want to do this, this is just simply going to cost this much money, and we have to figure it out somehow.
As you can see, at the end of the meeting, there was no screaming or finger pointing.
Right.
It was a very frank and open discussion, especially between Mark and the school district, the school administration. And I think that, and I do also think that people realize that there has to be some kind of middle ground that has to come forward. And I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, and I mean, unlike on the national stage, what I saw at least locally was people communicating, trying to understand what the problem is and how they can approach it together, rather than be at. So I think anybody who's a resident, if you want to catch up on the budget summit, you really should watch the meetings. Maybe they're a little dry at times, but you can get informed and see that people who run the town and oversee the government are doing their best, I think.
That's right. In December, there's going to be at least 6 meetings that are going to be broadcast on Belmont Media Center, such as the select board meeting on December 4th, where there's going to be discussion of the override model and how that's being, and how the warrant committee feels about some of the compromise that's going to come forward. That's a very good. That's a great thing to just to sneak in and look at.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you on that. There's a lot to pay attention to, but we also have now a new candidate in the town election, April, and tell us about that, the new candidate.
The new candidate, the candidate who submitted organization papers with the town clerk is Matt Taylor, and Matt Taylor has something in common with the current the person who is running already, and that's Jeff Lubian. They're both on the warrant committee. and they're both very serious number crunchers. Both have children in the schools, so it's going to be fun to find out how the two differentiate each other.
Mhm.
You know, it's they seem to have the same person. You know, that they seem to have the same direction in terms of how they want to help the town, and that is through good financial management. And we'll see how this goes forward.
The two experienced candidates.
One is both of them are running for the first time.
Okay.
Both of them are.
But they bring a level of experience.
Yeah, they're both town meeting members, and it's. But this is the first townwide election that they're going to be running in.
Right. Okay. So we'll be paying attention to that, and perhaps there'll be some debates here on the media center channels, your local channels. Look for that. Good news in sports. I mean, as opposed to the Patriots, never-ending discovery on how they can find more ways to lose. Belmont Marauders did a great job.
The Belmont Marauders had one of the best seasons in decades. As you already know, the Belmont Marauder football team, they actually won their Middlesex League division, and that's the first time in 59 years that they won a title in the Middlesex League. They got into the Division II playoffs, and as always, the most important game of the year is the last for both Watertown and Belmont. And this year, all those frustrations that Belmont had, especially from last year's really bitter taste at Fenway Park, in which there was a lot of nasty things said on the sideline, and just you didn't want to see that happen there. But this year, Belmont had just a crew of seniors that just stepped up for the entire year. They went 6-4 for the year, and they beat Watertown 47-0, which is the largest margin of victory in the history of the 100.
So it was a blowout, right?
It was a rout.
Yeah, it was a rout.
It was a rout.
And I watched.
Just to shout out the senior captain's name is Jaden Arno, who was the quarterback, who had 3 touchdown passes and ran for a touchdown. Adrian Garan, who is just one of the best running backs in the league. Ryan Holleran, who anchored the defense for the entire year. Brian Logan, who was our best pitch and catch receiver, and Bryce Hubbard, who was just another stalwart on the defensive side. And it was just a great victory, and something that Belmont hadn't had in a number of years. And
can we do a shout out to Bob Lassiter's grandson? How did he do? He watches from all parts of the country, and so he's one of our big viewers on the
yes, just a wonderful game and a wonderful game from everybody.
Okay, well, and now we've got winter sports coming up. We'll be doing a lot of live coverage again, but I just sort of an announcement here. With the rink being closed, we've worked out an arrangement with Watertown Cable where we'll be able to broadcast live from the arena in Watertown.
That's right.
You'll be able to see those games live as well. And a couple of announcements to remind people, by the time you see this, we're having an art reception coming up next Thursday. One of our volunteers who helps coordinate the gallery, Liz Doles, works through Project Able, will be having her exhibition. It's called Textiles. That's next Thursday, December 7th, 5 to 7 p.m. Please join us for that. Franklin, I hope you can stop by, take a couple pictures. And then we also have our holiday open house here at the Belmont Media Center on December 12th. That's from 6 to 8 p.m. Please stop by, say hello, see some of the folks that are volunteering here at the Belmont Media Center. And it's really just a social occasion. So that's what is coming up. Well, you can always catch up with Franklin on the BelmontTonian.com or right here on this program. And we look forward to having Mike Crowley back next week. Franklin, see you next time.
Thank you.
Major funding for the Belmont Media Center is paid by franchise fees from Comcast, Verizon, provided through the town of Belmont, Additional support is provided by our business and community sponsors, including Russian School of Mathematics and MAN, Monderer Design, Tamsin Kaplan, Alden Lock and Security, Nursing on Demand, Trinkdish and Craft Beer Cellar, and by Bethel Temple Center, Belmont Chinese American Association, National Association of Armenian Studies and Research, and by you. Thank you. Support live and local TV coverage of public meetings, school events, town activities, and hyper-local news by donating to BMC at belmontmedia.org/donate.